Welcome to Fam Talk Podcast. Today we are tackling a massive issue.
Why real American English sounds so different from what you learned in school.
If you struggle without subtitles, this episode is strictly for you.
Because native speakers do not speak textbook English. They speak connected English. If you have ever felt completely defeated after turning off subtitles, you are definitely not alone. Most English learners spend years memorizing grammar rules, passing written exams, and expanding their vocabulary, yet the moment they land in the United States or watch an unscripted interview, it feels like they are listening to a completely foreign language. The fundamental problem is that classroom English is completely artificial. In an academic setting, teachers enunciate every single syllable, insert artificial pauses between words, and speak in a slow, predictable rhythm. But out in the real world, natural spoken English does not work like a series of isolated Lego blocks. It flows like a river. Real English is a stress-timed language, which means the rhythm depends on the time between stressed syllables, not the total number of words in a sentence. When an American speaks, they deliberately stretch out the content words like nouns, main verbs, and adjectives, while crushing all the structural words like prepositions, articles, and pronouns into tiny, rapid bursts. If your brain is trained to listen for individual words, you will always lag behind the speaker, getting stuck on word number 3 while they are already on word number 10. That mechanical difference between textbook English and real spoken English brings us directly to the single biggest concept you must understand: connected speech. When words are put together in a sentence, their sound boundaries disappear entirely. We use specific sound rules without even thinking about them. The first major rule is linking consonant to vowel. When a word ends with a consonant sound and the next word begins with a vowel sound, Americans push that consonant directly onto the next word. For example, instead of saying a hold on, it sounds like a hold on. Instead of a turn off the light, you hear a turn off the light. The second rule is linking vowel to vowel, where your mouth naturally inserts an intrusive W or Y sound to connect two vowels smoothly. When someone says a go out, they naturally say a go out. When they say I agree, they say I agree. If you are looking for distinct, separated words in your mind, you will never find them because the acoustic signal hitting your ears is completely continuous.
Adding to connected speech is the absolute king of American English pronunciation, the schwa sound and weak forms. In the International Phonetic Alphabet, the schwa is represented as an upside-down E, and it is the most common, lazy, neutral vowel sound in the entire English language. When native speakers talk at regular speed, almost all unstressed vowels collapse into this simple ut sound. Take the word to. In isolation, you say to. But in the sentence I want to go to the store, to completely reduces to, turning the sentence into I want to go to the store. The word for reduces to fur, as in this is for you. The word can in a positive sentence reduces to couldn't, so I can do it sounds like I couldn't do it, whereas cannot keeps the full vowel sound can't. If you are waiting to hear the clean dictionary pronunciation of these functional words, you will miss them 90% of the time because they have been acoustically degraded to save vocal energy and speed up the conversation. Another massive concept that trips up advanced listeners is elision and assimilation, which literally means dropping sounds entirely or mutating them into new sounds. In casual American conversations, ending T and D sounds are almost always completely deleted if the next word begins with a consonant. If someone says last night, you will almost never hear the T in a last, you will hear a last night. If someone says hold me, you hear and hold me. Assimilation happens when two sounds collide to create an entirely new hybrid sound. When a word ending in a T sound meets a word starting with a Y sound like you, the sounds merge into a CH sound. That is why don't you becomes don't you, meet you becomes meet you, and what you want becomes what you want. Similarly, when a D sound meets a Y sound, they merge into a J sound, turning did you into did J, or did you, and would you into would you. If you have never studied these sound mutations, your brain will spend several seconds trying to decode a word that does not exist in any standard dictionary.
Now that we have broken down the mechanics of how American English actually sounds, we need to address the single biggest mistake English learners make: the subtitle trap. Almost every learner we talk to watches movies, TV shows, and YouTube videos with English subtitles turned on, convincing themselves that they are improving their listening skills. But cognitive science tells us the exact opposite. The human visual cortex is far more dominant and processes information much faster than the auditory cortex. When text is on the screen, your eyes automatically lock onto the letters, and your brain defaults to reading. You get the illusion of understanding the spoken audio, but in reality, your brain is simply reading a transcript while ignoring the complex acoustic signals. If you want your ears to adapt to real speech, you must turn off the subtitles completely. It will feel uncomfortable, frustrating, and you might only understand 40 or 50% initially, but that friction is the only way to force your brain to map raw sound waves to meaning without a visual crutch. Once you turn off the subtitles, you need a structured, high-intensity daily workout, and that is where the micro-listening technique comes into play. Passive listening, like playing an English podcast in the background while doing chores, is practically useless for developing high-level comprehension. You need active, deliberate ear training. Instead of trying to listen to an entire 2-hour movie, find a 30 to 45-second audio clip from a real, unscripted American media source, like a late-night talk show interview, a street vlog, or a casual podcast. Take that short clip and put it through a strict 4-step cycle. In Step 1, listen to the clip once without any text just to grasp the general context. In Step 2, listen again and try to pinpoint the exact moments where words blend together or disappear. In Step 3, pause after every sentence and write down every single word you hear on a piece of paper, word for word. In Step 4, check the transcript to identify your errors. You will immediately see whether you missed a weak form, a flap T, or a dropped consonant, allowing you to train your brain on your exact blind spots.
To take your micro-listening to the next level, you must combine it with the shadowing technique. In language acquisition, there is an unbreakable link between production and perception. If your mouth cannot produce a sound, your ears will struggle to identify it in real time. Shadowing is an exercise where you listen to a native speaker and repeat exactly what they are saying with a delay of just a fraction of a second, mimicking their rhythm, pitch, stress, and sound reductions without pausing the audio. When you force your vocal muscles to physically produce phrases like gonna, wanna, hafta, whaddya, and what you doing, your brain builds muscle memory. The next time an American speaker uses that exact contraction at high speed, your auditory processing unit recognizes it instantly because it is already stored in your own motor memory. You bypass the slow, conscious translation step and achieve instant, intuitive comprehension.
Another critical element is curating your acoustic environment. If all your listening practice comes from news anchors or audiobooks, you are training your ears on a very clean, artificial version of English. News anchors are professional speakers who read carefully crafted scripts from a teleprompter, speaking with deliberate clarity and avoiding colloquial slang. Real life is messy. In normal life, people stutter, interrupt each other, change their train of thought mid-sentence, use filler words like a like, a you know, and and talk over background noise. To prepare for the real world, you need to expose your ears to messy, unscripted content. Listen to stand-up comedy, sports commentary, casual roundtable discussions, and live stream Q&As. Expose yourself to different regional American accents, from the fast-paced New York cadence to the relaxed Southern drawl. The wider your acoustic range, the more resilient your listening comprehension becomes.
The final step to mastering real English listening is learning to rely on contextual prediction. Native speakers do not actually hear every single phoneme in a sentence. Their brains use context, grammar patterns, and probability to predict and fill in the missing sounds automatically. If you are sitting in a noisy restaurant and someone says pass the salt and pepper, you might only hear pass, sa, en, pepper, but your brain instantly reconstructs the sentence because salt and pepper is a fixed collocation. When you stop obsessing over catching every individual syllable and start paying attention to the overall topic, tone of voice, body language, and sentence rhythm, your brain will naturally fill in the blanks. Ear training is not about having superhuman hearing, it is about building enough linguistic pattern recognition so that your brain can predict what is coming next before the speaker even finishes their sentence.
Consistency is everything. 10 to 15 minutes of focused ear training every day will transform your comprehension within a month.
Stop reading subtitles, embrace the messiness of natural speech, and train your ears actively.
Thanks for listening to Fam Talk Podcast.
Subscribe now, leave a review, and we will see you in the next one.